Charles Armstrong on the list didn't indicate whether they wanted to address the board or not.
Yes, you do.
You do? Good. You may go first.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes public comment. It's not a debate. You can say whatever you like.
Right.
Once Mr. Stratton has the time set, you may go.
Okay. My name is Charles Armstrong. I live in Sherman, Illinois, and Tracy Shaw is my daughter. And through the comments of this board, I have witnessed total fear on this side. Total fear. You're scared of losing your jobs. You're scared of being competed against. You want to save your job, and you want to throw out what is it, over 400 or 4,000 people who have signed a petition to have Tracy run against you. Why is that fear? I don't understand. I really and truly don't understand that. Why are you scared of? What are you scared of? You call yourselves lawyers. You call yourselves professionals. But I don't see any professionalism here. A professional is someone who does what is right. And what you're doing is dead wrong. You're taking every little thing you can pick at to try to eliminate voters in this community so you can hold on to them. I will yield the rest of my time to the next person.
The next person on the list is Amanda Tabor.
Good morning. My name is Amanda Taylor. I'm a resident of Sherman. Just really briefly, this was all new to me, but Mr. Fines made a comment at the beginning of his statement about the integrity of the process. And the integrity of an election process calls for citizens to have a choice when it is available to them. And rejecting candidates would take away the residents' choice of Sherman. And the 3 candidates that were pigeonholed or selected for this inquiry, it seems suspicious. There's an appearance of impropriety here, that it's an attempt to rig the system in favor of a particular group of candidates who are currently in office. That seems unfair. And if there was a highly trained individual who's in charge of collecting these documents and reviewing them, and he notices at that time there's something as simple as a missing paperclip or staple, why couldn't he have mentioned it instead of going through this entire process? And I think that everybody has that.
Amen.
Do your job.
Read the directions. Know the process.
It's a paperclip. It's a freaking paperclip. You got to pull in Iraq. That's important.
Next one is Larry Stone.
Good morning. I am a resident of Sherman, and while I think overall this has been very unfortunate that we've had to come to this, I just have a question, if I may, and I know it's a comment. But one thing that I never understood from this is, Mr. Fines, where are you currently employed?
Sorry, it's inappropriate to address. I think I know, but it's inappropriate to ask a audience.
Make a statement.
Sorry.
Mr. Fines, where he's currently employed, I believe, currently employed with someone else that's here, not here, but who's the village president. I just would like to get that on the record. And I believe will probably be over, that would not be allowed. But if anything, Mr. Fines, while I recognize you are a resident of Sherman, I think it's important that everyone know where he is currently employed, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Next one on the list is Mr. Fines. Did you sign this because?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Trent Peterman.
First of all, thank you to Chairman Schultz and the Electoral Board for hearing this today. Thank you to members of the public who have taken the time out of their Saturday morning to be involved and to show support. Obviously, the candidates have all submitted motions to strike and dismiss that cite significant amounts of case law and legal precedent and clearly show that the objections submitted are legally insufficient and must be dismissed. That being said, I feel it's also important to talk about the effect that the decision of this board will have. If the decision of this board is to dismiss these objections, as the case law and legal precedent shows it should be, the two objectioners' voting rights are not being infringed upon. The objectioners, Mr. Edwards and Teamsters Legal Counsel, Mr. Fines, will still have the opportunity to go to the ballot box on April 2nd and cast their vote and have a choice between multiple candidates. However, if the decision of this board is to uphold the objectioner's petition, then it will effectively be taking the choice out of the hands of the residents. All three of these candidates have filed timely petitions. There are almost 500 signatures of Sherman residents on the petitions of these three candidates. These signatures are valid and in no way under dispute. The residents of this village have clearly and emphatically shown through these petitions that they desire a choice. To take away the right of our village to choose its leadership over paper clips and false address allegations, in my opinion, would be doing a disservice to the residents of this village and suppressing their right to vote, and would be at odds with the ideals of our country and the freedom of choice that it was built on. The case before you today is multifaceted. There is a legal argument, which the candidate's motion to strike and dismiss clearly addresses with case law, correct citing of the Illinois Election Code, which is lacking from the objectioner's petition, and also legal precedent. But there is also a question of intent and doing what is right. There is clearly no malicious intent in anything being presented before this board today. And there is a clear desire by the residents and voters of this village demanding a choice in April. I respectfully request this board to come to a decision to strike and dismiss the objections presented due to them being legally insufficient, and to protect the voting rights of the residents of Sherman by ensuring they have a choice in who will lead their village. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Carter, you're not listed.
Oh, I didn't, I meant to put no, sorry.
I'm sorry?
I did not mean me to speak, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Sandy Walden.
You ready? Obviously, from these proceedings today, it appears to me that whenever a candidate files their petitions, they need to have somebody video recording. Because this he said, she said is much of both. As far as Mr. Stratton's integrity and his, he's been trained in the rules and he's handled lots of documents and he knows how to do this. I agree with the other lady that spoke that he could have simply said, are you sure you don't want to staple these, or to some question about it. As far as all the allegations of not living where you need to vote, well, I'll point out that although all the incumbents have enough signatures for their ballots, or for it to be on the ballot, they also have signatures on their ballots. The people that are not registered at the address that they are registered, or that they wrote on their petitions, or registered under a different last name than what's on their petitions. As far as my other comments are concerned, I would say that most people in a community never attend a village or a city meeting. They don't typically have a clue as to what our elected leaders are doing with their tax dollars. All they know is they pay high taxes and their tax bill just continues to go up. People will complain, but the majority will do nothing to get involved to make a difference. In fact, statistics tell us most voters don't even exercise their right to vote. And what we just witnessed in the November election tells you that every vote counts. I've always been told if you don't vote, you don't have the right to complain. Some want to create term limits for politicians, which sounds like a good idea, except when you can't find others interested in running. Perhaps the dirty games, the threatening text messages, and the corruption in politics is what prevents people from throwing their ring in the hat. Then there are those who run for re-election only to resign so the mayor can reappoint or can appoint someone, one of his friends, to the seat. For the first time in quite a while, Sherman has had some additional residents interested in running for a seat for our local board. They are not career politicians, they are simply good citizens who want a chance to throw their hat in the ring. They didn't come to this process thinking it was gonna be easy. In fact, they knew it was gonna be hard work, which is another reason why most people don't even consider it. Which brings us to today, fighting for their right to throw their ring in the hat on minor technicalities, because those currently in position are worried about competition. I'm here today to tell you that the voters of Sherman deserve the right to choose on April 2nd, and plenty others feel the same way. Thank you very much.
Karen Hoffick?
When I wrote this, I thought it was going to be good morning, but I knew good afternoon. My name is Karen Hoffick, and I've been a resident of Sherman for 40 years. I'm just deeply disappointed in the events leading up to the hearing this morning. Nothing has been said about the hundreds of signatures of registered Sherman voters on the nomination papers submitted by Ms. Shaw, Mr. Carter, and Mrs. Jenkins. If their papers had consisted of names of non-residents and people not registered to vote, I could certainly understand the challenge of these nomination papers. The fault-finding objections being challenged include non-existent primary date, improper petition binding, papers not numbered, and are all mistakes made by novice candidates who wade through candidate packets that are subjected to interpretation by each candidate. Of course, the nomination papers for Sherman candidates were filed in the Village Hall, where all the employees were hired by our incumbent village president, and I find it strange that in the last hour of the last day to challenge petitions of candidates for village board and village president, 2 village residents just happened to stop by the village office to check the challengers' papers. I also find it hard to believe that the mother of an incumbent who is also running for re-election just happened to be the person who notarized the paperwork for the challenge. Did Rusty Edwards and Leslie Fines look at all of the petitions that were filed? Did they have inside information from someone in the office who called them there specifically to look at the errors that they had found so the challenge could take place? I'm sad for the residents of our community who may not have a choice when they go to the poll on April 2nd to vote for village board and village president. If the members of this election committee do not overturn this frivolous challenge, I am begging you, Pam and Kim and Mr. Schultz, to rule against the challenge and give the residents of this community the opportunity to choose. The people who are challenging the incumbent candidates are not veteran politicians. They are residents running to provide a service. Let our residents choose who will represent them the next 4 years.
Jeff Mitchell?
Good morning, or still morning right now. I am the board, and it's a tough job. Fortunately, we have fewer citizens than most communities, but I just have two points to make. One, I hope, and I didn't bring the agenda for Monday, but I would hope that the objectors will be at the meeting Monday so questions can be addressed to them. I won't get into that. It's up to each person that attends here as to what question they'd like to ask those objectors. And secondly, I think all local governments, I'm not talking about the state or the county, because of the number of people, but I think it would benefit the boards and the elected officials who have to do these kinds of things to at least offer in advance just a workshop for people who may or may not be interested in running for office, but who can really know what they have to do. Because again, as somebody has said before, you know, they may be novices. I've run before. I know how difficult it is. I had to redo my first petition and do a second one over. But I think that would help. There's a candidate's handbook, 2019, that's available at the Board of Elections. You can download it or they are available. just to have these available for anyone who would like to have them, in case they don't know about them. And again, I just say this in a positive way. Thank you.
Caitlin Myers. That's it, right?
I didn't prepare anything, I wasn't expecting it, but after listening to what happened today, I just wanted to put my point out here. I've lived my whole life here in Sherman since I was a little baby, and I remember the days that we would help our neighbors and provide paper clips to those that need them and help out. I feel like through these years that has changed dramatically. I feel like our village is dividing, and it's something that it's really upsetting. This is a small town. We should all be working together for the sake of our community and helping each other out. And I just hope that this petition gets overturned so that we can keep our rights as voters and vote for who we want to be elected into this office.
Thank you.
Chuck?
Good morning, everyone. My dad always told me if you don't have anything prepared to say, go with your gut. Okay, don't worry, I'm not gonna do that this week. My in-laws moved out here in the mid-'80s with 2 children. Bragged about what a wonderful community it was. December 28th of 1990, I moved my family out here to a little house on Andrew Road. The very next day, there was a new baby citizen that was born, and she came to Sherman. A few years later, we moved over to Birch Lakes and had yet another daughter. It's a wonderful community. We participated in sports, activities, all kinds of good stuff that a great community has. Okay? We had a sesquicentennial. In that sesquicentennial, we brought everybody together as a community. And we picked a symbol for that sesquicentennial. Anybody know what that was? It was a top hat. We picked the top hat as a symbol of the Village of Sherman. Because everybody picked their names out of that hat, decided who it was named after. That's our symbol as a united community. Let's not let a paperclip be the symbol that divides us. Thank
you. That is all the residents who have signed in to speak at the public comment section. I'm going to have a motion to, I believe we put this meeting in recess until Monday. Monday. A motion to put this meeting in recess until Monday at 5 o'clock. All those in favor? Unanimously carried.